Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I am your host, as always, Jay Villain, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Numbskull. Currently holding steady at, what is it, rank number 153. What do I got? How close am I this time?
You said 153? I was actually very close to what I was yesterday.
What are you currently holding at?
I think with everybody trying to sneak into the numbers at the last second, I think I was at like 172 this morning.
Currently holding 172 position in Mythic rank, which is amazing in this sweaty season. I'm currently holding down Diamond 4, just holding that down solid. Not
got out of plat prison though.
I'm out of plat prison, so that's the positive news.
Noteworthy.
So we are here with the second official episode of the Black Council podcast. Here we are, guys. This is premiering a day early for our patrons, and if you're not a patron, it is premiering a day before the release of Rotation. Rotation is happening, I think, about 10 or 11 a.m. on Arena Eastern Time, September 1st. That's going to be Thursday, and this is probably going to go out Wednesday if you're not a patron. We're going to be looking at some of the decks that we've crafted, and the cards we're missing and the cards we're not missing with upcoming Rotation. And if you don't know what Rotation is, we're going to review exactly what that is, because some people are brand new to this game. I've had a lot of people being like, wait a minute, I can't play cards? What's going on? What is Rotation? Why is this happening? You know, what are you even talking about? What is rotation proof? So we'll do a little explaining for that, because there's some people didn't know. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. First, we want to give a big shout out to our patrons.
Absolutely. Big thank you to Savrit, Clever Sound, The Blood Chief, and Paradabo. You guys are all awesome. We appreciate your support. Like we always say, we shout you guys out every episode because we're very thankful for you, and this couldn't, take off the way it is without you guys. So we greatly appreciate it.
And if you want to become an official council member and help decide the course of these episodes, we take feedback. We'll have polls. You get to decide what these episodes are, what you want to see, what you want to discuss about in them. Hey, if you have a guest that you want to see on here, you have another streamer you want to see us interview or talk to on the Black Council, hey, come on by the Patreon. Link's going to be in the description, in the comments, and you can do it for $1 a month. It's going to be split evenly between me and Numbskull and I. We'll go right to the Black Council podcast, and you can help support something great. We're going to make some Patreon goals. I think when we get enough people, we're going to open up a private Discord. I think maybe we get enough people, we'll maybe do, I don't know, probably a Grand Prix tournament or something with patrons or something like that. We'll do an exclusive patron tournament. We'll do some fun stuff. So we're trying to have it grow. You can also, maybe we'll get some, you can learn how to build good decks from Numbskull and bad decks from me. So that's also a good reward too. What decks to get you into a diamond and decks to get you into top 100. So, that'll be the difference. Depending on where you want to get. I don't know. Maybe you just want to shoot for diamond. I'm being hard on myself. I normally do get mythic, I have to say. I'm being particularly hard on myself, but I was doing pretty much rotation proof nonstop. Through this whole month, and I just didn't want to sweat it out. Well, speaking of rotation, we keep saying this word. So basically,
rotation.
Everything from Kaldheim, Strixhaven, Zendikar, and what's the last one? Kaldheim,
There's Forgotten Realms,
Strixhaven, Kaldheim, and Zendikar. They're not in standard play anymore. You can still play them in Pioneer. You can still play them in Historic. Anything. But in standard, when you do the basic standard play, they're gone. None of those cards are legal anymore. Alchemy is a little bit different because Alchemy has the special Alchemy cards. So some of those cards are still available because they were in the new Alchemy set. So that's a whole other can of worms. We're not going to talk about Alchemy. We're just talking about standard right now. But those cards are out. The new set, so the only ones that are going to be legal are going to be Innistrad Midnight Hunt, Innistrad Crimson Vow, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and Streets of New Capenna. And additionally, with rotation hitting September 1st, there's going to be the release of Dominaria United. So you're only going to have 5 sets to build from. That being said, every month, every 3 months approximately, a new set's going to come out till we get 8 more. Then, when the 9th set's going to come in, they chop off the last 4. That's how rotation goes every single season. That's how it's probably going to go until Mark Rosewater decides to upheaval everything all over again sometime down the road. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about rotation. We're talking about standard. If you're a huge historic player, if you're a big explorer player, pioneer, whatever you have on here, a lot of this doesn't apply to you. Now, we will be going over a lot of the new Dominaria United cards, but we are focusing on the standard build. So a lot of this can be applicable because there's a lot of new things coming out, and we're going to be talking about them. However, that is what we're talking about when we say rotation, because me and Num are mostly standard and alchemy players.
Yep. And I think the decks that we're going to show you guys today are going to be standard decks. I think Jay and I will end up building an alchemy. I do have an alchemy deck built, but we're going to save that for Thursday. For today's purposes, I think Jay and I just have standard decks for you guys. And we know the YouTube crowd much prefers standard to alchemy. So we'll grant you guys your wishes today.
And let me say what I always say about alchemy. Alchemy didn't die, it was murdered.
I like that.
Yeah, I really like alchemy. I wish I could make more alchemy content, and I probably will soon. But there's we should really do an episode about the murder investigation of alchemy. There's an irrational hatred for it. Yeah. And I talked to so many. We can do it with detectives Numbskull and Jay. Yeah, we should do a detective council who killed alchemy. I know who. There's like 3 people who did. And I finally get through that irrational hatred, and I talk to people about it like one-on-one in the comments, and they're finally be like, well, fine, I'll play it one time, and they're like, oh, this is fine. And I'm like, I know. There's like maybe 5 cards that people use out of it. It's just slightly different. It's standard with an expanded ban list, and maybe 3 or 4 extra cards. Like they give you.
And then you have other stuff that buffs your already good deck. Usually,
Yeah, it's usually like whatever archetypes there are in standard. There's usually just like one more card that makes that deck archetype a little better. They're like, oh, but there's so much other stuff. Like, no, there isn't, man. They're really. Anyways, I'm getting off track here on my heroic defensive alchemy tangents here.
Alchemy Knights.
Knights of Alchemy. What we want to do, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of retrospective on rotation before we get into the deck builds and the cards build. Everything's been released. Everything's been revealed. So we wanted to look at it. Was this suggested by a patron?
Or what? The cards?
The cards that we missed the most and missed the least?
I don't think so.
It wasn't suggested by a patron. I thought a patron suggested this one.
Maybe in the YouTube comments. I might have missed that.
I think a patron got
a good bit of comments.
We may have got that in the comments. So what we're gonna do is what card? I'm gonna throw it to Skull first. What card are you going to miss the most out of standard?
When we live debut this, if Raven's there, Raven's gonna like type out the name of the card before I get to say it. But it's Blood on the Snow. Just best board wipe ever. It's a board wipe and reanimator in the same spell. I like doing both of those things.
It's so expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive, but I usually ramp into it with Shambling Ghast anyway, so it's like whatever.
I mean, it's an expensive one, and you gotta have to do Snowlands with it too. I like it. Listen,
I love my Snowlands.
I like it, but I wouldn't say I'm gonna miss it. Well, I don't like board wipes as it is. I'm not Mr. Board Wipe.
Fair enough.
I begrudgingly play them. And the good thing about Blood in the Snow is that it does have that resurrection back end, so I can justify myself playing it.
It's more than just a board wipe.
It's more than just a board wipe. It's the same thing with like Meat Hook. It's like, well, I'm gaining and draining. I know I'm board wiping, but at least it's not
Doomscar.
It's not exact. I was just about, you took the words out of my mouth. It's not Doomscar. I'm not just wiping the board to be a dick. You know. So yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't really care that it's leaving. You mentioned mine. I am going to miss.
Oh yeah.
My lovely lady, my number one ramper, what do I call her? The closest thing we can get to Dark Ritual,
Standard Dark Ritual,
Shambling Gas, the Ursat's Dark Ritual. 1/1 zombie, sacrifice her or she dies. Something gets -1, and then you get to get a treasure. I know she's available in Alchemy still, but if we're talking pure standard right now, she's not there anymore. The ramp you used to be able to get from turn 1 Shambling Gas to turn 2 Deadly Dispute. It just reminded me of the glory days of Dark Ritual, turn 1 3 black mana immediately and going wide. Those were the glory days of black. And I'm gonna miss it so much. That's where my catchphrase that I say now that people started adopting, where I say I'm gonna crack her open for the sweet juices that are inside.
Yes.
So I mean, you get 2 treasure and 2 card draw, and you have a grand total on turn. You're going into turn. You're basically going into turn 3 with 5 mana and 2 extra cards. It puts you in such a pole position to utterly to dominate from black. And to lose that is just, it slows black down, which with Boros and with red and with white being as aggressive as even green being as aggressive as it is right now, black is just going to suffer from losing that ramp. And I'm very, very sad about that. So I'm gonna miss you, lady. I'm gonna give you one of those double chest pounds, kiss peace signs that you can't see because I don't use a camera.
Alexa, play In the Arms of an Angel.
Yeah, Alexa, play See You Again by who did that song? The one from
See You. That newer song?
No, the one from the Fast and Furious.
Yeah. I don't know. All I think about Fast and Furious is just family jokes.
Yeah, well, that was the joke. It was the family. It's been a long day without you, my friend.
I'm googling. Oh, it's Wiz Khalifa.
Wiz Khalifa.
And Charlie Puth.
Puth, yeah, Wiz Khalifa. Yeah, so that's me and whatchamacallit taking our separate roads away. Me and Shambling Gas leaving each other at standard. That's gonna hurt the most, just the black ramp. Even before that, when it was coming out, during Strixhaven and Kaldheim, I was saying my hashtag was #bring back black ramp, because there was literally no black treasure.
It's true.
There was no black treasure improvement. There was no black mana generation. Then we got a whole bunch of it in Adventures in Forgotten Realms with a few tricks that you could use for treasure generation. So #bring back black ramp again, I guess we'll have to say.
When that came out with Forgotten Realms, I mean, I had been playing Magic back into Magic for 2 or 3 months, and I was like, this card sucks. Shambling Gas. And for the longest time, I was like, I'm not using that card. It's terrible. And everybody used it. They would usually beat me, and eventually I just started using it, and I realized that it's probably as a common, it's probably the best 1-drop you can have if you run black, and if you're running any type of black control, gain and drain. The best turn 1 and turn 2 was literally just Shambling Gas and Deadly Dispute. It really didn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I had my original "this card is terrible and I don't want to play it" was Luminous Aspirant. I did not like that card when it first came out. I was like, this is so slow. A 1/1 that puts 1/1 counters. How is this ever going to pay off? And of course it paid off.
That was almost a card I was going to say that I wasn't going to miss. That's a card that I say I will not miss. It's
just one, and that's part of the reason it's inconspicuous. But after 6 turns, you're like, oh my god, this is out of control. Yeah, so it's one of those. So now, more interestingly, more perhaps controversially, what card are you absolutely not going to miss? Are you going to celebrate its departure?
Although I did just say that I will not miss the Ass Pirate. Will miss Magma Opus even less, because in Standard that is what just turned on the Hinata deck and made it so difficult to beat it. And that deck in particular, in Best of 3 Standard, made it a format that was just not very fun to play, and was one of the main reasons that I played Alchemy so much over the past few months, especially after the last set championship, because the Hinata deck won that set championship. It's just all you saw in Standard if you played Best of 3, and it made it, I don't want to say unplayable, like you could deal with it, but it definitely took a lot of the fun out of it. So Magma Opus, deuces.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, and I think that we can give an honorable mention to both to its co-conspirator here, which of course is Expressive Iteration.
Iteration, yeah.
Yeah, I think that can get an honorable mention. I'm not gonna miss Expressive. As soon as I see Expressive Iteration, my hand hovers over the gear button in the corner. I'm thinking about conceding because some bullshit's about to happen. As soon as I see Iteration come up,
everything they need somehow.
Yeah, it's just Magnum Opus is just like that. It's just like, this is gonna be some shit, man. I'm not gonna have a single ounce of fun in this game. I get that. My choice for number 1 card I am not going to miss, that speaking of not having fun at all, when I'm going to play a game, is going to be Eska's Chariot. Fuck Cat Car. I hate that card. I've never played it. I think it's the stupidest card. It's one of the ones that they immediately nerfed in Alchemy. Eska's Chariot is awful. It is... The combos you can pull off with it are ridiculous. It is just incredibly powerful. The value you get out of it is ridiculous. It's just a broken card, man. It's just one of those cards that is just the power level. I mean, Keldheim's power was fairly high, but that's one that just lets you... I mean, being able to... Compared with everything else in the game, I don't know why nobody said, hey, being able to make immediate copies of any token that's on the board, do you think that's a bad idea? Like, can't people horribly abuse this? Everyone was like, no, that's gonna be fine. And the reason is not even so much the mechanic that was unfair. It was that every deck that card ended up in turned into a slog. It was me slamming out removal as much as I can, board wipe after board wipe, I mean, it looked like it was like the invasion of Normandy. It was just shell after shell and artillery fire going out trying to suppress the multiplying people that they had on the other side there. It was just a never fun shell to get it. It also usually ended up in Simic decks, where it went up to all kind of insane shenanigans of multiplying fractal tokens, and it's just terrible. I'm gonna be happy that the day that I don't have to see that card anymore. So those are definitely two that
I like it.
That is one that I'm just gonna be satisfied. I mean, the other ones are banned, obviously Alrune's Epiphany, but the card that should have been banned 3 months earlier.
Very true.
But
Very true.
So those are my two. Those are ours. I mean, what do you have to say about rotation, Num? What are you thinking? Man? What are your general? What are your thoughts? What are your vibes, man? Like the kids say nowadays.
With rotation, the biggest thing that we're gonna see is that for a while it's gonna feel like the standard format and possibly even Alchemy are wide open, so to speak, in the sense of just everybody's still figuring out what's going to work and what's not going to work. What is the meta, so to speak? There are certain decks that'll still be good, certain decks that are not as good now, and then certain decks that got buffed. And although decks that were good got even better, they might not end up being the best deck when it's all said and done. There may be an emergence of a new deck, new archetypes. Seems like they want us to go very creature based, so that's gonna be a thing. It seems like it is continuing the advancement in standard of my golden rule in standard and alchemy for the most part is eventually you have to play to the board, and by playing to the board I mean you need to get slammed down some permanents. It doesn't mean that you just have to play creatures. You just need to have some type of board presence, and typically the person with the more advanced board presence is, as a general rule of thumb, is doing better. Whomever's getting more value for what they're spending their mana on. So it's really important, I think, still to get the board presence. Now, it doesn't mean that, I need to have 6 creatures on turn 5. No, but you maybe you have a couple creatures out, you have an enchantment, you have a planeswalker. That's a good board presence, and you want them to all be doing stuff. And when you get them like passively doing stuff for you, I think that's where we have a lot of value. So we have like new sagas that are going to be really good. Obviously, your planeswalkers, you do their abilities and get something out of it each turn. The fact that we're getting a very powerful 3-mana planeswalker is going to be incredibly helpful for that, at least within black. But there are other sagas. I think every color has a decent saga as well, so that's kind of like passive, and the read ahead is really good. So enchantments get better, creatures get better, planeswalkers get better, all that stuff. We lose a lot, but we gain a lot, and I think that the format will feel very refreshed.
Yeah, I have to agree with you about board presence. For a long time, some of the top decks were just like nothing. It was like the way of the empty fist. It was sideboard. It was lessons that we'd pull off the sideboard. It was basically board wipe until I could play multiple versions of Mascot Exhibition and attack with man lands. It was heavy control. I mean, just lockout control. Wipe after wipe. You had Orzhov control, you had Esper control, you had Azorius. And especially with the amount of man lands that there were. And also pre the banning of what's that one? The one that
is Alrund's Epiphany and Divide by Zero.
Divide by Zero, but the other one, the man land that was just everything. It was a blank man land. It was a 4/3.
Faceless Haven.
Faceless Haven. Yeah, I mean that was a 4/3 that could just. You're basically.
And Vigilance.
Yeah, you could basically just attack on the ground. So I don't know if purposefully they've corrected from that, or accidentally they've corrected from that, where we seem to be Dominaria as a classic setting. We seem to be going into a classic era of Magic. Now, of course, there's still going to be control plays, but I think the era, I hope you're right about the era of the empty board, is going to slow down. I don't know if it's going to be over. There's still some options of stealing stuff from other people's decks and doing that like that. But the empty board dominance of basically I'm just going to do nothing until the other person gives up. I don't know how viable that is anymore. And that's not, I don't think that's healthy for the game. That's really why I have a problem with it. It's not it doesn't encourage people to play, so there's hopefully some give and take with that. I think that I'm optimistic. Right now, I'm a little concerned that Rakdos and Boros are going to be hard to dethrone. The Boros aggro build, man, even the rotation proof is so strong. Like it rolls it rolls so perfect. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like Kumanos, Kumanos to what's the turn 2 play? The Kumanos to the other one, and to Brutal Cathar on turn 3, to Thundering Raiju on turn 4. Like, it has such a clean line of play that it hits so purposely. I'm a little worried it's not going to be dethroned, but I'm very interested to see what happens.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
I think, Rakdos gets better, and the crazy thing about Rakdos is there are a couple Rakdos archetypes that improve. Not just Anvil, but Like you can do Rakdos aggro now too without uh without the anvil. And so there's definitely going to be things that you'll see that are going to get more powerful. We have our ways to deal with stuff. We do have strong creatures. I think we have good removal spells coming in, so we'll all have to see it in due time. But I think at the very least, we know this first couple weeks that it'll at least be fun.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, always there's going to be people trying out stuff. At least there's going to be that. But I haven't seen too many. I haven't seen the blue bomb. I have my big problem is with blue bombs, and I haven't seen the blue bomb. They always like to sneak in a blue bomb in every set, and it always ruins everything. I'm talking about your Jin-Gitaxises. I'm talking about your Alrune's Epiphanies. I'm talking about your what was that other one? I'm talking about your Oko. I'm talking about your Hullbreaker Leviathan. Your bullshit blue card that just ruins everything. And I haven't seen one, so that gives me a little bit of hope. So I'm a little excited for that there's not one.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the colors, although they all have like a bunch of really good cards, but there isn't necessarily one card that just stands out as being like, okay, this is the most powerful card ever.
Yeah.
It seems like each color is very balanced, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, that all being said, I'd like to hear from in the comments also, guys. What are you looking forward to in this set? What are you going to build? What are your thoughts about it? In the chat too, because I'm gonna do this as a premiere. So talk to me about it there. If you're a patron, we'd like to hear on the Patreon page. You can always leave a comment for us or chat with us directly in the Patreon page, and leave comments on the actual post. I want to know, what are people excited about? What are they going in for the first strike here? What are they going in for on the first grab? What is going to be your first deck? I gotta know, Numbskull. I gotta know about your first deck, man.
My first deck?
Yeah, let's hear it.
The one that I made.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna share with you guys today.
Yes, let's hear about. I'm sure it's gonna be a mono white, or no, an Azorius control.
Oh God.
Yeah.
We have. I'm gonna start it off with. This was the first one that I made. I was. Some of you guys who watched me on stream, I was making decks on stream the last 2 nights. I made a very pricey Rakdos deck, and really it's just mono black with Ob Nixilis, and then Fable, and then the option of burn down the house and the sideboard. So basically what we're working with here is there's a combo involved in it. I'll just say that right off the bat. The combo involved here is Ob Nixilis, Shakedown Heavy, Sholdred. You might have heard me talk about that, the one-turn kill combo available with those cards in the last podcast. Well, here's the deck that I've made to support it.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. Let's go through the mechanics of this one.
Yeah, so
I'm going to put it up on the screen. It should be up on the screen right now, so.
Awesome. So yeah, I have my own image of it here that I'm just going to kind of click through the cards. But
sure.
We start with Cut Down. Destroy target creature with total power and toughness 5 or less. So there's your early removal, the instant speed removal, pretty good. We do have I am going to do 4 evolved sleepers, just in case we're not drawing stuff, or like maybe we don't have a turn to play. All right, then we're going to level up the evolved sleeper. We didn't draw a removal, whatever. We're just gonna level them up, get a better body on the board. It's also more likely that they might waste their removal spell on the Evolved Sleeper. Evolved Sleeper might be a kill on sight, making them less likely to remove your Shakedown Heavy that you need to stay on the battlefield for at least 1 turn. After that, we do have 3 Infernal Grasps. So the spot removal package is split between 3 and 3 between Cut Down and Infernal Grasp. Then we will have 3 Tenacious Underdogs. I apologize. And that's also going to be early, kind of beat you down. demand removal because it's a 3/2. Obviously, we can bring it back later on in the game. Card draw, blitzing, haste, just useful. We will run 3 meat hooks in the main board of this deck. We do want to be able to kill stuff in case we need to, and we want to be able to. How do I phrase it? We want to be able to deal with the early stuff so that we can play our game. So we have 3 Graveyard Trespassers after that. That's going to be your Graveyard. Hey, just a really good body. Once again, demands removal. So maybe they leave your Shakedown Heavy alone. You'll get a 2-for-1 with the ward on the or with the discard on the ward ability there. Then we do have our lady, Liliana of the Veil. I did include 3 of those as a planeswalker. In some matchups that could be considered, and if you're playing best of 3, could be considered not good in the matchup. People make the argument that Fable of the Mirror Breaker is better for 3 mana. So if you're playing best of 3, you might find that Fable, which there's 3 Fables in the sideboard because of it, you might find that Fable is a better option based on your matchup. So you probably just board out 3 Liliana for those 3 Fable, and that's why I have 3 and 3, and 3 of them are in the sideboard. The other 3 are in the actual main deck. Because this is a new set, we're gonna put Liliana in the main deck just to try it, to say that we, actually tried to see who was better. After that, we do have 3 Obnixili as well. That's gonna be one piece of the combo, but will actually come out after the Shakedown Heavy, which we have 4 of those. The Shakedown Heavy, basically what that's gonna do is it's gonna obviously be a good body on the board. Hopefully you have another body to demand removal that you're swinging with on that turn 3. Otherwise, we're lucky if they don't remove it. We hope they don't remove it, because next turn we're going to drop Shakedown Heavy, and we're actually going to blow up our own Ob, or blow up our own Shakedown when we cast Ob on turn 4. I think I said that backwards. Casting Ob on turn 4, we're going to blow up our own Shakedown. We're going to casualty 6 on it. And what we're going to do is the token that has a 6 loyalty from the casualty, we're going to +1 that and take it to 7 and get ready to do the ult next turn. The token that comes out, the copy that comes out as the actual paper copy with 3 loyalty, we're going to minus that and make another body to have that devil to protect the Ob that has 7 loyalty. Usually that's what you'll do. Maybe you don't have to if the opponent's just not doing anything, then so be it. You know what I mean? But otherwise, you can minus it to have a body. If they're not playing to the board, you can just make them discard then, or plus it and try to make them discard. After that, turn 5, we're dropping Sheoldred. We're doing the ult on the Obnixilis. -7, target opponent draws 7 cards, loses 7 life. Sheoldred says when an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So this is a loss of 21 life. We give them 7 cards, but hopefully on turn 5 that just kills them. Hopefully you're swinging with your Evolved Sleeper, your Underdog that you played on turns 1 and 2. And then you're just, you just end the game there on turn 5. That is the idea. We have other things to clean it up outside of that. We do have 4 Invoke to spare if we need it. So that's an option as well. And then you have residual stuff from your Meat Hook, but that is the deck here. I know a lot of people play best of 1, so if you were looking for a best of 1 deck out of the decks that I built, this is probably the best one for best of 1 because of the combo within it. It has the combo built into the deck to be a 1-turn kill, whereas maybe the others are they're trying to grind out 2 out of 3 wins, because that's what a best of 3 deck is more equipped to do. This one can still grind with the cards that are in it, but it does possess the package for the combo that would allow you to just kind of run through some best of 1 and catch people slipping. We do use Haunted Ridges and the new land, the Sulphurous Springs. We got a Shokenzan in there. We got a Takenuma. We do have a couple mountains just in case of like Field of Ruins and stuff. And we do have a healthy amount of swamps. Now, one thing I included because of cards in the sideboard that have Domain, which Domain plays off of how many basic land types you have. I do actually include triomes in this. 1, it's going to get you 3 basic land types all in 1, and 2, it's cycling for card draw because we did lose some card draw from cards that rotated out. So we do want to have somewhat of an ability for that there. Equally in the sideboard, we have 2 Pilfer, which is kind of like your new check for traps. We do have those 3 Fables that I mentioned. I included 2 Paths of Peril, and then 2 Drag to the Bottom as well. Drag to the Bottom is the one that's domain. That's where if you have the Triome out, if you have both Triomes out, I believe it's -4/-4 for 4 mana. So, pretty effective. After that, we do have 2 Enrica Domnathi. That's just kind of for flyers and just to have a nice turn 4 thing. Maybe the shouldered combo doesn't work. Maybe they're getting rid of Planeswalkers, so you board out Liliana, you board in Fable, then maybe you bring in Enrica as well. You take out like 1 or 2 Shouldereds if the combo's not working. So you kind of have an alternate plan for your game. You make them sacrifice their creatures. You draw cards, or you flip it and just have a great body in the air, and a Death Touch and Lifelink to gain life as well. We do have Sorin, just another Planeswalker, card advantage, gaining life, vampires, blocking flyers if needed. And then we do have our 2 copies of Burn Down the House. That's going to be what we use to hit other Planeswalkers. If we're seeing Planeswalkers in matchups, you have Ajani, you have Jaya, you have Liliana, and then all the other ones that were already there. So there are things to worry about in terms of Planeswalkers. Oh, and there are 2 Caves of Koilos. That's so you can do the cleave cost on Path of Peril. So we added some pain lands. We have Triomes. I know it kind of just looks like mono black for the most part, but what I'm trying to do now when I run the mono black, now that we're not doing snowlands, to get domain to proc better, we are going to actually have extra basic land types. It'll help us cast Ob and Fable if needed, and Path of Peril, but for the most part, it's to trigger Drag to the Bottom if we need to from the sideboard in other creature-based matchups.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that is the deck.
Yeah, I like I don't know, it's one of those things, I don't know how often that the immediate 7-banger Rakdos is going to come out. I mean, the Ob Nixilis is going to come out and trigger with a Shield Dread, but man, if it does...
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's a hell of a meme.
It's a hell of a meme when it goes off and they realize that what just happened, that you hit. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna. I think people are gonna figure it out. They're gonna be like, oh, he has a Shale Dread, and a whatchamacallit on the board. A Shakedown Heavy on the board.
Yeah.
People are gonna figure out that if he makes me draw, it's gonna be pain.
It's also kind of a diversion too, because there are plenty of other cards in the deck that'll beat you if you don't deal with them.
Well, that was always the kind of the Liliana Planeswalker. As soon as it hit the board, it was such a threat. Like, people had to deal with it. Mm-hmm. Like, you couldn't just let her. You couldn't just let her build. Because if she got you to that discard or lose, and discard or lose, or if she got her ult off, it was basically lights out. So. That builds so much threat in a Rakdos deck. That's really cool. I think that's an exciting deck. I think that's definitely a lot of threat. I mean, even outside of just memes itself, it's a very dangerous gain and drain.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because even if you just get the Shouldered out and you don't even have Ob or Shakedown, it's still residual every turn. Just from the game progressing, it's gain and drain.
Yeah.
And whether you're doing a combo or not, that still matters. And eventually they're going to have to deal with her. Mm-hmm. And then you have others, you have Trespassers, now your Trespasser stays out maybe, or now Liliana gets to ult because they had to deal with your Shouldered instead. It's kind of like pick your poison, literally in a more literal sense of pick your poison of how I will kill you.
Exactly. There's too many threats to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's too much danger on the board. Very good, man. That's going to be a heck of a thing. I want to see how far you can get with that one. I think.
Yeah, I am going to be doing more standard in the new season. So we'll see if we can, if I'm able to, take a standard deck into Mythic and get some numbers going pretty high this next season. We'll see.
I'm going to build off that one too. I'm probably not going to do one exactly like that. Obviously, I don't like to ever imitate precisely. But I'm probably going to try to pull off the Rakdos trick at the very least.
I'd love to see it, yeah.
So, okay.
Let's hear your first deck, Jay.
So, okay, well, if you insist, if you simply insist. Well, obviously, it's going to feature Sheldred. I went a different path with it. Okay. I went Orzhov. I went full Orzhov sacrifice. Okay. I want to pull off some bank shots here. I said there's enough in this. It is a Orzhov sacrifice legendary focused deck here that we can start hitting some repeating effects. We can start pulling off kind of some early on jank here. Let me cut to it real quick.
Do you have that one on your AetherHub?
Yeah, it's actually called Dark Legends.
There it is. Okay.
It yeah, all these are available on the AetherHub.
Along.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. All the decks Jay and I discussed with you today, they will be on both of our respective AetherHubs.
I'm going to put those links in the description as always. So I'm going to cut to mine. So what Dark Legends is...
I like this already.
Yeah, so we're going to start with Cut Down, obviously. That's going to be the new early removal. We really just need Cut Down to stop aggro. To stop the other stuff, we're not going to worry about the bigger things. I think we'll have more intense things later on to worry about. We'll have better things to deal with them. Evolve Sleeper, naturally. This is going to be a solid card to go in with. Especially when it turns into a human cleric. It's a 1-drop, turn into a human cleric, and then it will become a 3/3 human cleric when it gets more powerful in Death Touch, and then it will, whenever you can even evolve it further, put a 1/1 counter at it, then you draw a card and you lose 1 life. If it becomes a Phyrexian human cleric, so it'll keep getting bigger and bigger, so it can grow with you. And then we have Elias Core, Sadistic Pilgrim. Now, you know I love the gain and drain here. This is a fantastic drop for us. This is a legendary creature, 1 white, 1 black, and it's only an uncommon. Elias Ilkor, Sadistic Pilgrim, 2/2 Death Touch. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. This is essentially a miniature Meat Hook. Okay, he's a Meat Hook in and of himself. Combining him with Meat Hook is even more deadly. So if anybody enters, we gain. If anybody loses, they lose. And this is going to be good because we are specifically going to be sacrificing people on top of that. We actually want people to die with this deck. So we're going to have 3 of him. And why do we want multiple copies? You know me, I was like, I don't like to overload on legends. We want our legends to die. There's a specific reason. Fake Your Own Death, we're going to go 4 of these. If we're talking about sacrificing, if we're talking about dying, why not just bring them back with some treasure? Unfortunately, Fake Your Own Death is currently the only way to hit that treasure ramp right now. We have 4 of them currently. I think that maybe we only need 3. We're going to see. Basically, until the end of turn is an instant, you get +2. Whenever it dies, it returns to the battlefield tapped, and you get a treasure token. So it's a nice little trick ramp there. So that's a very useful card, especially if you're going to do any kind of sacrifice plays or pull off some nice bank shots and stuff like that. Now, here is another one that we really all have to keep our eye on. Shadow Rite Priest. 2/2 human cleric, 1 black, 1 drop, human cleric. Other clerics you control get +1/+1. All right, so again, the Evolve Sleeper and Elias Core Sadistic Pilgrim are both clerics. This is actually a very heavy cleric deck. It's not a full cleric deck because it's heavy. And then you can sacrifice another cleric for 2 black and 3. Search your library for a black creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. That's it. That's all you have to do. You search your library for a black card, put it onto the battlefield. That's it. It's not tapped. It's not then sacrifice it. It's just on the battlefield. It's yours. All you have to do is sacrifice somebody for it. Well, like I said, I don't care. If somebody leaves, they lose 1 life. So we're going to have a lot of effects for that. So that is unbelievably useful. He's a captain for clerics. He is only a 2-drop. Very, very useful to pump everybody up here. Anointed Peacekeeper is going to be the brand new, even worse, Elite Spellbinder. Everybody is going to hate this guy eventually. He's not flying, but he's even worse. He is a 3/3 Vigilance human cleric. Anointed Peacekeeper enters the battlefield. Look at an opponent's hand, then choose any card name. Spells your opponent's cast with the chosen spell name cost 2 more. Activated abilities of the source with the chosen name cost 2 more to activate unless they're mana abilities. So not only does he lock out one specific card, he locks out every single card with that spell name. All right? So all you guys playing Disturb or hitting Lier or stuff from the graveyard, if you're trying to hit repeat, if I lock out your specific spell and I get to look at your hand, activating the cost is 2 more and casting the spell is 2 more. Guess what? He's a cleric, so I can actually go summon him with Shadowrite Priest if I want to, and he'll get 1/1 from Shadowrite Priest on top of that. 4 of him, fantastic card. Here we have another guy. He is a Phyrexian. He's a Phyrexian human though, fully Orzhov. He is Aaron Benalia's Ruin. 2 white and 1 black, legendary creature. He is a 3/3 menace, and then you can tap him and pay 1 black and 1 white, sacrifice another creature, and put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Again, I don't care about sacrificing people. If I want to combine this in the middle to late game with Fake Your Own Death, I don't really lose anything to you. Do I? So everybody gets 1/1/1/1. Shadowrite Priest is already enhancing everybody. We have multiple copies of Aaron. Now, if we're talking about sacrifice, we have to be talking about Braids. Arisen Nightmare. Oh, it's that sweet music. 2 black and 1. Legendary creature Nightmare. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with that with a permanent that shares with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. So it's basically a miniature Invoke Despair. They have the option of sacrificing what you sacrificed, and if they don't do that, they lose 2 life for what they don't. Guys, in the late game, when you have extra mana, and you know me, I like to flood out. If I have extra mana, I'm going to start sacrificing multiple mana. I'm going to start sacrificing more of my creatures. And I'm going to show you the trick of why I don't care about losing creatures and cards later on with Braids Arisen Nightmare. It's going to be a really, really good reason here in a second. So Braids is going to bring home even more sacrifice, even more punishment and life loss as it goes. We have Fell Stinger for a little bit of card draw here, 3/2 Death Touch, and of course it has that lovely exploit ability. The exploit meaning when it hits the battlefield, you can sacrifice somebody and draw 2 cards, and a target player draws 2 cards and they lose 2 life. You can actually target your opponent, which I want to say aligns very, very nicely with Sheoldred. Basically, every time your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life, and you can force them to draw two cards and lose 2 life, so you can actually make them lose 6 life total with Sheoldred, with the Fell Stinger and Sheoldred combo. Or you can draw the life and take the damage and get the more cards in your hand. And then here you go, guys. This is why I want to sacrifice things. This is where the trick is going to come in. It comes with Radadrabik of Urborg. Here was one of my cards to watch, all right, guys? Radadrabik of Urborg was one of my cards to watch. Why? He is a 3/3 zombie wizard Orzhov. 1 black, 1 white, and 2. He is a legendary creature. Vigilance and Ward 2. Other zombies you control have Vigilance. By the way, Fell Stinger's a zombie. Whenever another legendary creature you control dies, create a token that's a copy of this creature. Create a token that's a copy of this creature, except it's not a legendary and it's a 2/2 black zombie, in addition to the other colors and types. So now you see the combo that I'm trying to do here, which is basically every time that I'm sacrificing all these abilities to sacrifice, I'm sacrificing my legends. And when my legends die, they come back as non-legendary zombie versions. That means I can have multiple versions of Sheoldred as non-legendary zombie versions. I can have as many as I want. I can have multiple versions of Braids. I have as many as I want. Aaron's Ruin, as many as I want. I can actually have multiple versions of any Aaron if I want. Any Elias Core, if I want multiple versions of Elias Core, I can keep sacrificing and making zombie versions of Elias Core because it's a legendary. They come back as non-legendary 2/2 zombie versions of, not virgins, but versions rather, of them. So feeding the sacrifice with Radadrabik is going to be what we're going to be doing there. And you're saying, well, you only have 3 Radadrabik. Well, maybe put 4 Radadrabik, and also don't forget Shadowrite Priest. If we're not drawing Radadrabik, chances are we'll draw Shadowrite Priest. All we need to do is get to 5, search, sacrifice another cleric, search our library for a black creature card. Guess what? He's black and white. He counts as both. We can get a Radadrabik on the board. We can start the engine going. Boom. There's Sheoldred to finish it off. The 4/5 Phyrexian, gaining life, losing life. Fantastic stuff there. 4 Caves of Kolios. and of course plains and all the other basic lands that we're going to have. We're also, what I forgot to put in this one is the Statue of Legends. It's the new legendary card that basically you can add any mana color to cast a legendary creature. I wanted to put 2 of those in there, but I completely forgot. So that is the legendary sacrifice Orzhov tricky stuff there, where we can get multiple zombie versions of Legends out. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fun time to do that.
Yeah, and I think with Radhadrabik out, when you can just drop another LSL core, or just drop another shoulder. Like, now you're just not like holding stuff in your hand. You know what I mean? You know how like sometimes you'd just be holding that other legendary because you didn't want to waste it.
Exactly. So yeah, one of them
gives you like
one of them dies.
Yeah, you actually use it. It's good, and then you actually get a second one, and okay, well now you have a zombie with vigilance, and it gives you all the residual benefits, and it looks like all the legendaries have residual benefits, or like at least like triggered abilities
or residual benefits. So exactly. Yeah. So it basically gets you around the legendary rule just by making a non-legendary zombie version. Of course that zombie version can die, but I mean, it's another creature that they're going to have to deal with, or another effect that they're going to have to do. And that zombie version can be sacrificed too. If they're going to try to kill it, why not why not try to hit it with Aaron? We can sacrifice it with Aaron and put 1/1 counters on everybody, you know?
Yeah, that's very strong. And it looks like you can you could sack those things on the end step with braids as well, just for extra stuff.
Oh yeah. You could do anything with braids on phenomenal. The end. You could rip down if they're that close to death. You could basically just rip down your entire board state to make them have nothing else left with braids. You know, you could have nothing but braids left. You could say I sacrifice 5 mana, you know, 3 creatures, 2 enchantments, and you know, and they have to follow suit. And if they can't, braids is going to kill them. So braids is a very big threat on the board. On top of that, so I'm interested to see how this one actually shakes out. And honestly, I was surprised that the paper cost is only $110 for this one.
That's pretty good.
That's actually not for a completed deck. A little joke there, completed. Only 3 mythic rares, oddly enough. $110 for a full deck.
It's because you didn't play any meat hooks.
Yeah, well, yeah. If it was meat hooks, it would be $600. So yeah, that's the deck that I'm going to go in with. As always, we're going to put the I've built a few of them. I also built a Selesnya and a mono white. I don't know what else did you build? I don't know if we have time to go over them. We're almost already at an hour for our podcast. Did you want?
Oh, are we? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Believe it or not, we've been talking
that
long. Did you just
maybe just go over it quickly? But,
you want to go? Did you want to just show yours quickly, and I'll show one of mine quickly? That kind of the idea.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
So the next one is going to be like a mono black, and it is like sacrifice based. The main thing on this one is going to be to trigger the Weatherlight completed.
Oh, okay. So Weatherlight.
Yeah. So it is mono black. However, I do still include the 2 triomes. Like I said for my plans earlier, you have your invokes, you have drag to the bottom of the sideboard. We also run one of Jay's favorites, Body Launderer, because we are going to be sacrificing. So I figure I might get some value out of it. Yeah, I do have Graveyard Trespassers on the board. I have an extra meat hook. I have cut downs on the board. I didn't do quite as much spot removal in the main deck because of the combo and sacrificing of our own stuff that we're going to be doing. So I do have 4 Dockside Chef, 3 Eaten Alive. That's my removal because it's wanting to sacrifice stuff. We actually run 3 Fake Your Own Death as well. And I have Jadar, and one of the reasons you want to run Jadar is when you have braids out, we're going to sacrifice that zombie each turn with Jadar. You can order your triggers. It's a setting you have to turn on an arena. You order your triggers, you sack that zombie with the braids ability. That resolves before the Jadar ability checks to see if you have a zombie, and then it just gives you another zombie. So if you didn't know Jadar, it's 2/2/1/1. Beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. So the idea is that it's just going to be, that's our Decayed creature. we're going to sack it every turn with braids. We're going to get another one every turn with braids. And what that's going to do, that's going to trigger Weatherlight to become a creature that much faster. We have a 5/5 flyer in the air. We also have underdogs. We have Reckoner's Bargain for sacrifice and card draw. I said we had braids earlier. Liliana's in here too. We're going to make him discard. Sheoldred, Body Launderer, got a couple Graveyard Trespassers in there, and Invokes. We do run our Takenuma and Field of Ruin because this is a little bit more creature heavy. So we do run the Takenuma. And obviously Planeswalkers as well. So that's the point of this one. Just like a mono black sacrifice deck, we just are getting value out of sacrificing stuff, and then eventually, we get a 5/5 flyer that's drawing us cards every time it happens, and and then we're getting Invokes. We're gaining and draining with Sheoldred. Liliana's taking them out. We have the underdog doing stuff. We got Trespassers, Planeswalkers, Invoking, Residual with Meat Hook. It's just a bunch of mono black good stuff, but it's like a sacrificial centered deck.
That's pretty good. I mean, I think that braids is going to be a contender overall. I just think that anytime you could build a token deck and just feed braids. You could do
you could do so much, man.
Just the versatility of that, the brutality that she can bring. I think that we can build off her incredible. Especially with the life loss. Like I said, she's a slow motion. Despair. Invoke despair. So that's really good. I like it. I'm definitely going to do a mono black version. I wanted to start out with Orzhov. I generally try to do a multicolored decks starting out in the new set just because I want to touch as many cards as possible. So that's just me, because I just want to be able to grab everything. So if I'm just going to do mono red, it's like, well, I've just played red cards, It's like, no, let me play a Mardu just so I can touch all the good cards. I get it.
We have support for 3-color decks with Pain Lands.
Yeah,
you definitely reduce some 3-color stuff.
I'm sad that we have to wait for another set to get more Pain Lands in. That's another kind of sucks. That I'm not happy about that. We had that problem with the pathway rotation. We had to wait another one. We had half the pathways and then half the other pathways in a later set, and it really sucked when we had to wait for them.
That's a little frustrating. It definitely limits you.
It does. So I have 2 similar decks that I want to go over frequently. I'm going to kind of jump back and forth with them because I did one and I kind of said, you know what? I'm kind of missing the thread here. So let me go jump. But there is a lot of, if we can get away from Phyrexians, let me go to the lighter side. I know it's unusual for me, but I actually do like white. I like angels. There's a decent amount of angel support. There's a lot of soldier support, and there's a lot of human support too, believe it or not. So I originally started, if we want to jump to this one, I started with a soldier angel mono white. Starting with like Cathar Commando, Giada, a new card called Guardian of New Benalia, which lets you discard a card and she gains indestructible, which is amazing. I love discarding cards to make things indestructible. That there used to be a card called Blessed. What was it called? It used to be one of my emotes on my channel because I used to play it so much. Anyways, it just, that ability is fine because I'm going to play Resurrection with it. Sun Gold Sentinel, she's a soldier, lots of soldiers here, and angels and angel soldiers. So we're going to have Thalia, obviously, Guardian of Thraben. I'm going to stay away from instants and sorceries. Non-creature instants and sorceries, just because Thalia is there. I'm going to have some enchantments. Then there's a great card called Valiant Veteran. I think that flew under a lot of people's radars. That is a one white and 1-drop 2/2 core soldier. Other soldiers you control get +1/+1. Okay, so that's a soldier command captain there. And then he has a late game ability that's you pay 2 white and 3, exile Valiant Veteran from your graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on each soldier creature you control. So playing that ability from basically the graveyard is great, because if I have discarded him to make somebody like Guardian of Benalia immortal is really, really fantastic. Doing it like that is really cool. Bereaved Survivor is a great one, as he starts as a human peasant. Didn't see a lot of play, but I think turning into obviously a soldier that whenever another creature you control dies, it transformed into the other version of it, the soldier version of itself. People forget that Brutal Cathar is a soldier. It's a human soldier werewolf. So he fits in real nicely. Borrowed Time for Exile. Now, another great one, the Mythic Rare here, is an amazing card. This is part of the reason I have no problem discarding things, is this Sarah Paragon. Is a 3/4 flying angel. Once during each of your turn, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with a mana value or 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains whenever this permanent is put in a graveyard from the battlefield, exile it, and you gain 2 life. So not only does it let you play anything lands and anything value 3 or less from your graveyard, meaning that basically every single soldier that I just listed can be played out of your graveyard. If you've basically discarded cards to maybe make Guardian of New Benalia immortal or indestructible, you can just replay it, and then of course if it dies again, you gain life when it dies. So that's the Sarah Paragon. Angelic Quartermaster finally has a good home for itself as an angel soldier, getting made cheaper by Giada. And of course that puts 1/1 on everybody. It's a 3/3 flying angel soldier. Elspeth Resplendent is going to fit nicely in this one, and Sanctuary Warden, which is another angel soldier card. So looking at that, I said this is pretty good, but let me modify it a little bit with the Selesnya version. A lot of the more similar stuff, but then I said, man, what if we just went human with it? What if we cancel kind of the angels, and we did these new ones, which is, I didn't even notice these cards. King Darien, what is that number? King Darien, the XLVII. I'm not good at Roman numerals.
Oh, we were, L is 50, but when the X is in front of it, it's 10 less, so it's 48.
King Darien, the 48. There you go. Yeah. And Queen Alalia.
That's still a lot of Darians.
That's a lot of Darians. That's a lot of Darians. That's a whole bunch of Darians. So he is a token commander. He is a token captain. And he also has Queen Aliand of Rudica, which is elf noble, and I guess they're married, and they have like an elf alliance of Selesnya. So we put Sigarda in there, Torrens Fist of the Angel, Savior of Olenbach, Strength of the Coalition, which is the kicker one, Guardian of New Benalia, and we have all the other soldiers, because Torrens makes soldier tokens, Sigarda boosts humans, and Wedding Announcement creates tokens. So basically the King Darien, he gives 1/1 to everybody. You can put you pay 1 white, 1 green, and 3 to put a 1/1 counter on him and create soldier tokens. Or you can sacrifice him, and every single one of your tokens gains hexproof and indestructible. So it basically negates the biggest disadvantage that token decks had, which was big board wipes, which was those big sweeps. Now, you're still susceptible to Meat Hook, but the Path of Peril and crap like that, if you have your King Darien out, you're good, man. And with the Queen Ellelyn Rudex, power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. She is basically powerful enough that however many you have, if one or more creature tokens under your control would be made, those creature tokens plus a 1/1 white soldier creature tokens are made instead. So she makes multiple creature tokens instead. She'll make an extra soldier token for your pleasure. So looking at that, this is kind of a different kind of soldier token deck. They're very similar. They share a lot of the similar cards. One is more angel focused and one is more Selesnya protection focused. But still, human soldiers, I think, are kind of going to be up and coming in this one. I think they're going to be a contender, especially with that ability to avoid getting board wiped, taking away a lot of the main thrusting power that we had to counter them. That's going to be a big deal. That's definitely going to be a big deal. Really, really cool stuff on that one. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of bases there, and you can really go wide with the deck like that. So I think Torrens is going to be important when you have Sigarda out. Because, all those angels having training that's gonna really start to snowball.
Yeah, the training ability and the fact that they're soldiers, Valiant Valiant Veteran gives +1 to soldiers because the tokens he made are 1/1 human soldier tokens specifically.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and Strength of the Coalition is another card. I kind of glossed over it, but it's 1 green instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+2, but it has a 1 white and 2 kicker. If it was kicked, every other creature you control gets a 1/1 counter.
Really solid.
Yeah. So I mean, early game, yeah, it can survive a big hit, but late game it can just absolutely dominate. So creature tokens definitely still looking good going into it.
Yeah, I think token decks are going to be really solid. The wedding announcement there is a nice touch too, just a very easy passive thing.
Yeah, just to generate more. I mean, that makes human tokens. They're not soldiers, but just to enhance everything. I think that it is missing trample. I think that I'm gonna have to invest in trample at some point, but
that's an idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Kodama is probably gonna be your best bet, but he doesn't really fit the theme. So I wish there was a soldier that gave trample, like the Knight's Rider trainer or something like that. I don't know. Oh, here's
Maybe just have to put a couple mountains in there and play Jetmir.
Yeah, that's possible. Cat Demon. Plaza Heroes is the one I was talking about. That's a pretty good land. It's a rare land. It's add 1 colorless, and then add the other option is add 1 mana of any color to cast a legendary spell. Add 1 mana of any color legendary permanent you control, or you can pay 3 and exile exile Plaza of Heroes. Target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. So if you're running a heavy, if you're running a heavy legendary deck, it's absolutely worth it. It's just a land. You can have 4 of these out if you want. It only generates basic colorless mana, but still, if you're running like my previous deck, if you're running a heavy legendary one, man, that's useful. That's very useful.
I think we did good.
I think we did good. I think we talked about times past, we talked about times future. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Please leave a comment. Join the Patreon, guys. We want to hear from you. We're trying to make the console grow. If you're a content creator and you actually listen this far and you want to be featured on the Black Council, we'd love to have you on post-rotation. We're probably going to do next week, I'm thinking, unless the Patreons demand something else, I'm thinking of the first week in review, kind of, a retrospective over the weekend of what the rotation looked like. And then maybe we'll get into some other stuff. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about alchemy. We're coming up with some good ideas. And join the Patreon. Check us out. Check out Numbskull. Check out me. Subscribe. Watch out for that pesky like and subscribe. He'll get you. He'll get you every time. And you got any closing arguments, Numbskull?
Closing arguments. Yeah. There's a lot of cards coming out, guys, that have a lot of text on them. Don't forget the cardinal rule. Read the fucking cards.
Oh, yeah. You don't know how many games.
It's going to go a long way. It's going to go a long way.
I have won so many games because some trigger went off and the guy's sitting there stunned going, why did that happen? Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, like, you're a novice. Like, there are professionals who forget to read the cards.
Yeah.
So just always be telling yourself to read the cards, double check stuff, double check what might kill you, because there's a lot of new things that are coming out. Although it's not new mechanics, there are old mechanics that are returning that we're not as used to playing in this format. So just make sure you're paying attention.
Oh yeah, and listen, I'm not even gonna get mad at slow. You know me, I get mad at slow players. I'm not even mad at slow players right now, man. I'm gonna be a slow player because I'm gonna be reading everything. There's no way you can have every card memorized yet, especially in how they actually interact on the board without actually playing them. It's one thing to read a card and say, okay, it works like this, but seeing the mechanics trigger off in Arena is going to be a whole different can of worms to wrap your brain around it. So no reason not to go slow for the first week and not, tank yourself. And, well, maybe you'll learn an important lesson when you get blown up. Maybe that's the burned hand teaches best, as they say. It's kind of the touch the oven theory. I guess sometimes you got to touch the oven one time. You got to touch the stove once.
That's a good point.
So yeah, but take your time. I'm not gonna be mad at slow players this week. Right now, you have no excuse. If you're slow playing it right before rotation, you don't know what any of these cards do, and you've been playing for a year already. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you, man. If you don't know what the cards do yet, you just don't like reading them. You're on autopilot. Yeah. I've had people if I know they're on autopilot, they're playing a meta deck, they're playing like Metaboros, and they're so used to playing it on autopilot that they just run themselves into a wall because they're just not even used to it not working, and they just throw down the same cards over and over again, and they just like when it doesn't work, they just implode. It's really funny.
And that's a whole nother thing is you have to like also be ready to just maybe try something new. Don't be scared to try something new.
Yeah. So yeah, don't be scared to experiment, guys. And when we get those codes, I'll put them up, and hopefully you've saved some gold. I always tell you guys, I told you 30 days ago to start saving gold, so hopefully you listen.
I saved a little bit.
I saved. Hopefully I'll have about 100 packs to open, so hopefully we'll be around for that.
Nice.
One. Yeah. Nice. And thanks, big shout out to our patrons, big shout out to everybody subscribed, and the Black Council has been convened. Until next time, guys. I've been Jay Villain. You've been great.
Take care, guys. See you later.
Everyone. Bye-bye.